at 6:30 flares again into vandalism tonight. You'll see the damage.
And you'll see a new way that might help quiet a baby who just won't go to sleep.
Minnesota's first rural...
Good evening, everyone. When we last talked with you at 6 o'clock on Eyewitness News, it looked like that protest over in Uptown was over and done with.
But just after we signed off, things heated up again. We told you at 5 and at 6 o'clock the protesters were gathered at Hennepin and Lake in Minneapolis, and we showed you live their efforts to block traffic there. It was their protest against the U.S. troops sent to Honduras, an echo of the protest we showed you last night. Now, Mike Binkley joins us live now from Lake and Hennepin to tell you what's been happening tonight with that protest. Mike?
I'll tell you what, Stan, we're standing out here at Lake and Hennepin looking around, and it looks like everything's back to normal now, but you never know. As you said, everybody thought it was over with at 6:30, but in fact, it had only moved a few blocks away. It started back up again here at the Military Recruiting Center just down the street at Lake in Blaisdell. There, a few of the protesters took rocks, bricks, and even bowling balls, tossing them through 4 plate glass windows. Then they took over the streets once again.
No, Contras! No, Contras!
They clogged up Lake Street traffic for several blocks, trapping some drivers at intersections before finally sitting down once again at Lake in Hennepin. Some brought American flags to wave, while others built bonfires on the street, dancing proudly with the charred remains of their flags.
I'm going to suggest a celebration dance because I think we've won a great victory together.
It was clear not all in this crowd agreed with the earlier vandalism.
We all saw what happened down at the recruiting station. Now, wait on.
But all of them did seem to agree that they were going to stick together.
And if we're going to leave in groups that are large enough to protect those people, we don't want our brothers and sisters to have their heads bashed in just because some windows got smashed in.
While all this was going on, police kept their distance. Police Chief Tony Boza stood on one nearby corner, smiling, watching, and giving few serious answers to questions.
And trying to figure out what's going on and how to handle it.
How should it be handled?
I don't know. Read my book.
Your book?
Yes, as soon as I write it.
The chief didn't want to discuss his plans with us, but it's obvious that his officers will have to face something like this again soon. Monday, if not before that, this same group of protesters is planning to get together and try and block off downtown Minneapolis streets. Stan and Ruth?
Mike, there were 6 arrests at last night's demonstration. What about tonight? Any arrests?
Apparently just one tonight. We're told by the 5th Precinct that one person was taken away, but we are not sure what the charge was tonight.
And last night, the Women Against Military Madness, WHAM, were out there. What about tonight? Were they part of this?
No, they didn't have a noted presence here tonight. They were a little upset about what happened last night.
Mike, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Mike. Not everyone present at tonight's demonstration was protesting America's involvement in Honduras. 2 men, both former servicemen, walked among that crowd in support of the latest developments in Central America. Mark Snare, who says he has spent 10 years in the Army and Navy, said he decided not to sit home and ignore the evening's protest.
America is the big brother of the world. The world has shrunk. I feel that by the 82nd Airborne going down to Honduras, we're there saying, okay, stop what you're doing or you're going to, the bigger guys are here.
Minneapolis police told Snare and his friend Bill Lee that their presence wasn't exactly a wise choice at that protest, but the 2 decided to stay anyway.
Now, the object of all the activity tonight is supposed to be the sending of U.S. troops to Honduras, 3,200 soldiers who began arriving there yesterday. That's the U.S. response to the Nicaraguans' attack on Contra rebels that reportedly took them across the border into Honduras. And today, the last of the soldiers dropped from the sky into Honduras, about 140 miles west of where the fighting's been going on. That's part of the 82nd Airborne Division you see there. The U.S. still claims they are not going to be fighting, just practicing with the Hondurans, and only for about 10 days. Now, the Hondurans are asking for U.S. helicopters and pilots to ferry Honduran troops to the area of conflict, but there are reports that Nicaraguan troops are pulling back into their own territory with the Contra forces and supplies still intact.
Earlier this week, we told you about the grand jury indicting Oliver North on several Iran-Contra charges, and now the Marine Lieutenant Colonel says he is quitting the Marines. Observers say that North's eyes grew very teary as he announced the decision in his lawyer's office.
I love the United States Marine Corps and the courageous brothers in arms that I have served with over the past 20 years.
North says that he's resigning on May the 1st because his legal defense will likely force him to subpoena superior officers, and that's something he did not want to do in uniform. By the way, on May the 1st, he becomes a 20-year man eligible for a pension of $22,000 a year.
A Red Wing judge sent a clear message to child abusers today: expect harsh sentences. You might remember this man, James Olson. This is he going to court last year in Red Wing on charges of second-degree murder. Today, the judge sentenced him to 35 years for beating his girlfriend's daughter. 3-year-old Julie Morrison eventually died from that beating last May. Her mother, Gloria Morrison, is also going to jail. The judge sentenced her to 17.5 years in the Shakopee Women's Prison.
They said that they'd be there until 2 in the morning, and they're making good on that promise. I'm talking about the demonstrators. There they are at the Faust Porn Theater at University in Dale and St. Paul. This scene hasn't changed much since our 5 and 6 o'clock newscasts, and neither has the sentiment on this street corner. These St. Anthony Park neighbors do not want XXX movies in their neighborhood.
No porn!
And oust the Faust does not mean simply to another neighborhood. You see, there are plans for the theater complex to move into this building 2 miles west on University, but the demonstrators especially hate that idea because they say it's a larger building and could house even more porn shops.
All you'd have to do is throw a fountain in the front entryway and you've got a mega mall of porn. And when you look at it, that's exactly what you could have. And that's really scary.
The Faust is fighting the demonstrators with this message on the marquee that you're about to see. Swaggart and Baker agree on censorship. We are fighting for your right to choose.
Well, among the forgotten people of the world are the senior citizens left alone in their golden years.
It seems some people are so lonely. I just can't believe that there are such lonely people.
Next on the update, Jason Davis describes one woman's plan to help those people. All because of rumors Pillsbury was ripe for the picking as a takeover target. Now, why should you care? Well, because Pillsbury is based here, and what happens to that company can affect the 7,000 Minnesotans who work for Pillsbury and its subsidiaries, like Burger King, Godfather's Pizza, and Steak and Ale. And speculators had pushed Pillsbury stock prices up $7 over Wednesday and Thursday, but today the company squelched takeover rumors, and analysts advised investors to cash in their chips and take the profit. Nearly 2.4 million shares of Pillsbury stock changed hands today. Ruth?
There is help now for a part of our community that you don't hear much about: the widows and the widowers, the divorced, and also the never married. For many, the loneliness is simply compounded by their advancing years. Maybe you know that feeling. Jason Davis met some of these people on the road again in central Minnesota, and he found that there is a way for them to get to know each other. He brought back a story that will touch you, and after we show you the address, for those of you interested, please have a pen and a pencil ready. But for now, just watch and listen.
The farms scattered across the landscape are testimony to a lifetime of work. But many of these homes house people who have lost their spouses and now feel isolated. 67-year-old Victor Karen lost his wife in 1966, and he spent the last 22 years looking for
somebody that I can trust to talk to. A lot of times you don't feel right up to par, and you like to have somebody to get that off your chest, and I haven't got that.
Since her husband died 3 years ago, 57-year-old Mary Ann Schulzenberg has often had to lay the table just for one. It's only recently that she's come out of her shell, and now she's looking for just friends.
I don't like to get serious right away. If they get serious on the first date, I won't have another date with them. I just want a couple of years of just plain fun now.
Victor and Mary Ann are just two of the many people who have written to this woman, 70-year-old Arlene Roy of New London, Minnesota. Arlene, who has been married 3 times, has begun a dating service for seniors. The response to her tiny ad is staggering.
I need companionship with males. With male. I hope you can help me. And then she gives me the telephone number and the address. And it's from Avon, Minnesota.
Arlene, who has lived alone since her 3rd husband died of cancer in 1978, is the first to recognize the need.
Oh, my God, yes. Everybody is wanting a pal or a mate or a companion or whatever. Honest, there is a deliberate need. I don't know what to say.
A stamped addressed long envelope with $5 will get a list of names from Arlene's seniors. Mary Ann says she doesn't need it anymore, but she knows many who do.
It seems some people are so lonely. I just can't believe there are such lonely people.
The Lord didn't make you to live alone. He made you to live with a partner or a friend or something. I haven't even got a man friend that I can go with around here.
Jason Davis with photographer Phil Teesey on the road again.
Noisiest baby. It is called a 55-mile-an-hour crib, but it never leaves the nursery. It does simulate a car ride, and many of you know that's the only thing that will lull some babies to sleep. Dr. Michael Breen explains how this device does that trick, and see for yourself if it's too good to be true.
A crying baby. If you're a new parent, you know it's a sound that ruins more sleep, becomes more dreaded than any other. 2-week-old Marta Jewson has had a tough night, and so has her mother. Have you gotten much sleep at all?
Not last night, no. Hopefully, today after we go to the doctor, hopefully we'll get a nap.
Pam's tried everything. Walking, cuddling. She's even consulted a book on baby care. Nothing's helped. But now Pam's trying this device that she says sometimes does help. This device simulates the one known cure-all for a crying baby, a car ride. This switch starts Marta's crib vibrating just like it would in a moving car, and this speaker provides the sound effects. On this particular morning, the device worked. Little Marta was faked out.
It seems to be working right now. I think the vibrations are probably working, and the noise as well.
Now, if only this device worked all the time, being a parent would be a lot easier. Now, most babies start crying from the moment they come into the world. That crying usually peaks when a baby's about 6 weeks old. Chances are at that point, little Madeline here will be crying about 3 hours a day. But if your baby cries more than that, don't worry. Chances are your baby will outgrow that crying by the time he or she is 4 months old. Until then, if you hear this sound, remember that besides the new device, there are also some other tried and true ways to quiet your baby. Use a pacifier. Put a warm water bottle on your baby's abdomen, or gently rock your baby. And if simulating a car ride doesn't help, you can do what Pam does. She bundles Marta up and gives her a ride in the real thing. I'm Dr. Michael Breen, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
What do you think? Well, if the 55-mile-per-hour crib seems like the answer to your prayers, get ready to take down a telephone number. You can call 1-800-325-3550 for information on it. Once again, 1-800-325-3550. And if that doesn't do the trick, call up Dave Dahl. He'll come over and read temperatures till the baby goes to sleep.
Should we say, too, we know that baby?
Puts a lot of folks to sleep all the time.
We should say. That's one of our colleagues' babies.
Congratulations,
Sweet, huh?
belatedly, Pam, right? Hope it sleeps nicely, right?
We have some new weather equipment that we're going to unveil, and we're all excited about it. That's beginning next week because that's Tornado Preparedness Week. It's going to give our viewers the best possible weather information the quickest. And this does start next week, and every night, each night on the update at 10, we're going to give you weathery tips, just in the event that severe weather will happen, from tornadoes to hail, also including lightning. All of those are going to be included in our weather tips. For the 5 first forecast for tonight, no severe weather in sight. Partly cloudy skies overnight tonight, 16 to 20 for overnight lows, northwest winds at about 10 to 15. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning, should still have a partly cloudy sky, those clouds gradually thickening up. A little bit of sunshine showing through, but the afternoon, variable clouds, a mixture of clouds and sun, a few flurries in the air as well. 25 to 30 northwest winds there, 10 to 20 miles per hour. Outside at the airport right now, under a partly cloudy to clear sky, our temperature is sitting at 27, the dew point 15, 60% for the relative humidity, a northwest wind at a light 8, and barometric pressure steady at 30.05. Today's high did make it up to 35 degrees, didn't feel that way because of the strong wind, that's too shy of the average. 24 this morning's low, and no snowfall officially out at the airport. Spring begins this weekend, so let's take a look back at the biggest hits this winter. November 17th, the first 1-inch snowfall or more at 1.6. January 19th and 20th, greatest snowstorm, 8.7 inches. And the coldest day, 18 below on January 6th. I remember that. I was standing out on the front lawn. What was my pleasure today to go out to Hamilton Elementary up in Coon Rapids, and I spoke with 650 students. These are the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, and you can see that they're all dressed up in tropical wear. That's because they are starting their tropical extravaganza. It'll last for about a week. We had a lot of fun showing some of the different weather experiments, talking with about 250 4th, 5th, and 6th graders there. But for tomorrow, the weather maker is going to be a large high-pressure system. It's going to be a cool one, dropping straight south out of Canada. It's going to keep our temperatures cool over the weekend, but then warmer air is in sight. That'll gradually slide in this direction, and as it does so, could touch off a little bit of light snow, especially on Sunday. Out to the east, a real mess. Water in the southern part of the United States. Up to the north, though, northeast, they could get snow. Cooler air, 40 degrees for a high up in New York. For northern Minnesota for tomorrow, we're expecting light snow up there. Best chances right up along the Canadian border. 20s for highs. For the southern part of the state, we may even have a flurry or two. High temperatures here should be in the 20s. And for western Wisconsin, mostly cloudy skies. High temperatures cooler tomorrow, only in the 20s. We do look ahead to a warming trend. For the first week of spring, it could be into the 40s, the way it appears right now. And after the snow over the weekend, we could have rain showers in there by Tuesday. But remember, it's cool first, then it warms up.
Okay.
Got it.
Remember.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Spring is coming.
Yep.
Still ahead in sports, the finals are set up in the girls' state basketball tourney.
Yeah, and the NCAA tourney will get a new champ this year. Last year's bit the old dust today. Mark Stevens fills us in next.
Vacation, Mark without the mustache is here. Mark Curtis gone. Mark Stevens here tonight. Hello, Mark.
Yeah, we switched vacations. It's his turn now.
We have to be careful.
Everyone's got to have their chance. Let's talk about the NCAA tournament. Bye-bye, Bobby. You know how college Sixers. The shot here really isn't that important. Watch. The ball will go out of bounds off of Philadelphia's Mike Jaminski. That's Barkley's teammate. The ref signals the ball goes to Washington, but gives it to Philadelphia's Charles Barkley. He's not going to say anything about it, but the ref finally realizes that he made a mistake. They straighten things out there. You know.
He smiled.
Charles wasn't going to say anything, kept his mouth shut.
Red in the face. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
All righty.
After saying goodbye to a prairie home companion, we said hello to good evening, and now we have a chance to see how that new guy is doing. That story's next. Radio listeners have gotten to know a new Minnesota companion. He's Noah Adams, who's taken the stage from retired prairie home companion Garrison Keillor. And tonight, Mark Sapelza polls the critics to see what they're hearing from this new storyteller.
During rehearsal today, this is as close as I got to an on-camera interview with Noah Adams. Like Garrison Keillor, he rarely, if ever, does them. They just don't like them. But that's not where people stop trying to compare the two.
Oh, you're back with me, my world's complete. Don't mind me if I repeat, hello, love.
Until last year, on the World Theater stage, Garrison Keillor helped public radio listeners drift off to fictitious Lake Wobegon, Minnesota, every Saturday.
It's a wonderful feeling, as you know by now, to be in the World Theater. It's a great place.
Now, the same stage, the same time, the same radio station, Noah Adams is doing the same thing? Not if you ask Tom Bagley. He worked for Keillor, but now he's executive producer for this show called Good Evening from Minnesota.
It is a program about reality and not about myth or fantasy. And that's probably the biggest distinction.
But despite warm praises from critics, Good Evening has not been as hot a draw. 100 fewer radio stations carry it nationwide. Fewer tickets are sold to see it live at the theater. Even Keillor's T-shirts outsell Good Evening at the theater gift shop. David Hosley, head of San Francisco's public radio station, worries it's too much like its predecessor.
No, I think that there was a mistaken belief that there was something magical about Minnesota. What was magical was the world that Garrison Keillor created about people who lived in Minnesota. And it's going to be a mistake if they try to create some other Minnesota that's attractive to us.
But St. Paul entertainment writer Jim Tarbox says Noah Adams has filled some big shoes nicely in just 3 months.
Garrison's show was just so hugely successful and popular and very good. And I think to have a new guy come in and carrying a lot of that baggage, I think it is an unfair comparison.
Noah Adams will never be another Garrison Keillor. He doesn't have to be, doesn't want to be. All he wants is that his listeners sit back and enjoy the way he makes it a good evening. In St. Paul, Mark Sapelza, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
And this reminder, be sure to join us tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock right here on Channel 5 for a great weekend. It's a Saturday morning program for adults that Dr. Breen and I contribute to. Tomorrow, Dr. Breen will talk about the medical benefits for kids from meditation, not medication, meditation. I'll have a warning for you, pet owners, as well as the latest overnight news. 9 o'clock right here. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Have a good weekend.